The living wound cycle here, totally made up by me. All right, environment. 1, 2, need. 3, wound. 4, the misbelief. 5, the protective strategy. And 6, the new consequence and the new environment. Okay, so if your character is the product of their environment and they have lots of needs and the need goes unmet, that's the wound. The wound is the unmet need. And then the wound creates the misbelief, right? You can call it the belief if you want, but we tend to go with misbelief here or the lie because that makes it very clear that there's something to be learned. Like there's a truth, there's a hidden truth that actually needs to be excavated as a result of this story. And remember that each book you write, if you have a series, you're not tackling all the misbeliefs at once, especially if you have a series. You would probably be tackling one lie for each book. There's going to be some kind of development, some kind of arc for each book of the series. Or you have one that they're learning the entire series, right? I would encourage you, even if there's one big one that they're learning through the whole one, to also have the little one that holds the arc together for each book. So they have this misbelief, and that's going to guide their behavior. But instead of behavior, I wanted it very specific to say protective strategy. This is something that they have thought that they're like, this is how I'm going to live my life in order to protect myself. But they might not be cognizant that it's because of the wound that they are making these choices. This could just be like, yeah, this feels right. I want a high paying job. I want a place that doesn't necessarily feel bad to have. And they might never ask themselves why, but they're definitely being guided by their past. And then this cycle will repeat until something breaks it. I also put an arrow here from protective strategy to wound because your character will keep creating this protective strategy. And because they haven't changed their misbelief, it's just going to keep reinforcing the wound, which reinforces the misbelief, which informs the next protective strategy. So until they've literally changed this misbelief, the loop will continue. Our job as author is to mess with something in this misbelief enough to start shifting this protective strategy to heal the wound. So then you're probably going in this new environment at the end of the book, at the epilogue. If there's a second book, yes, our character is happy now, maybe, but there's still going to be some conflict, some unmet need. So as I was going through this, I'd argue that your first act begins right here. And the result is this, my friends, would be your opening image. Yes, I think that we meet them at this, like, I'm going to try this protective strategy. One of them. Okay, it doesn't have to be the first one they tried, but in the middle of one of their protective strategies. And then we see how it's falling apart because it's a protective strategy and it's not necessarily going to lead to the environment that they hoped it would because they're still operating on their misbelief. And then I would argue that it would keep cycling into, but she experienced this. And it would echo what she or they experienced in childhood. Okay. So same mood, same vibes, same tone, same things that they heard growing up, same things that they would have responded with, or maybe different. Maybe they are learning what they could have said had they been older until they try out a new protective strategy based on a new belief. Now we are in the meat of your book. Now we are in Act 2. They're trying new things. Remember that the first time that they're going to try something new based on their new belief, it probably won't work. And so they're going to go backwards. And then they'll perhaps try again because they are motivated to try again. Maybe they have a really good mentor character. They see a foil character they see a mirror character, they meet somebody who's going to encourage them, try this new belief one more time, and then they'll have some success, and that'll be really exciting. But then they have their dark night of the soul because they are feeling the same things now that they felt in their past. And they did everything they could to avoid it. And now it's even like worse. Your character's behavior isn't random. The plot points shouldn't be either, right? It's all been a strategy to avoid a wound that came from an unmet need. And so where we come in is to keep putting our characters in situations that poke that wound until the wound doesn't hurt anymore, or at least hurts less, or they have the support system with which they can tolerate the pain of that wound.